going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of interAXEtion, where we're going to sit down and answer your music theory questions. So, as always, if you do have any questions about theory that are confusing and you just don't quite understand, leave them in the comments below and I will do my best to incorporate them into this series of videos. Alright, so first question. How do you know what to change the generic chords into? Say I have a basic chord progression of only minor and major chords. How do I know which ones should be major 7, minor 6, minor 9, etc., etc.? Great question, and I see this one a lot, and it can be confusing. The main thing to know is you already seem to be familiar with your generic chords. Let's change that word to triads. So this way, if you're talking to other musicians, they really know what you're talking about. So we're dealing with triads. So if you know your chord scale, which is essentially just you take any scale that you're working with, say C major, and then you build a triad on each one of those, right? If you know that formula, major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, and you don't know what they turn into extensions, it's really simple. The quality of the chord stays the same. So if it's a major chord, guess what? It's a major 7, or a major 9, or a major 6, or a major 13. Okay, and if it's a minor chord, the same thing. If it's a minor chord, it's a minor 7, minor 9, minor 11. Same thing. The only thing that you have to be aware of is the relationship of the 7th, and that helps if you know some intervals, right? If you're playing a major 7th chord, that is a major triad with a major 7th, or then that major 7th is a half step behind the root note. Okay? If it's a minor 7th chord, it's a minor chord, minor triad, with a minor 7, and a minor 7 is a whole step behind the root. Okay? And then if it's a dominant chord, it's a major 7, it's a major triad with a minor 7th interval. So it's a major triad with a minor 7th interval. And that's the difference between the 7th chords. So as far as whether it's going to be a minor 9 or a flat 9, that all depends on the rest of the chords or the intervals based off the root you're playing. I think an interesting topic to cover would be the musical difference between modes, Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, etc. Really appreciate your videos. Well, thanks a lot. I really appreciate your comments. Modes can be confusing for people, and you really have to look at the chord each mode outlines, and that's going to give you the overall sound of that chord. For example, if we're in the key of C major, right, and we go to the second note, which is D, and we play those same notes, D to D, right, no sharps or flats, still C major chord, but you're starting on D. Look at the root chord of that mode, right? Skip notes, D, F, A, C. That's a D minor 7th chord. So Dorian is going to give you the sound of a minor 7th chord. But what makes each mode distinct is the differences in the color notes of the chord. For example, the 6th degree of a Dorian scale is a major. So when you contrast that against a minor scale, you have a minor 6th. It's a minor scale with a minor 6th. And Dorian is a minor scale with a major 6th. So that's going to color the entire mode differently or give its defining characteristic. Right? You can go to Phrygian, and it's the same thing. It's a minor 7th chord, but you have a flat 9 or that half step interval above. So that is going to be the flavor of that mode. Okay? If you go to Lydian, it's a major scale. It's still a major chord. It's a major 7th chord when you find out the root triad of that mode. But it's a major chord, and then you get to that sharp 4 or sharp 11th chord. Note, I should say. And that is the defining characteristic of that mode. A Mixolydian, same thing with the dominant. It's a major chord with a flat 7. So you're going to kind of have that pull between the flat 7, which is kind of pentatonic, kind of minor, right? But you also have the tension within it, so you have the tritone built right in the middle of that chord from the B to the F if we're in the key of G Mixolydian, for example, right? That's what gives it that tension, and that's going to be its defining characteristic. Just like the defining characteristic of Aeolian or minor is that it's very minor. You get the minor 3rd and the minor 6th and the minor 7, so it's very sad. So Aeolian, natural minor, versus Dorian, which is also a minor quality mode, right? They're both minor, but the amount of sadness that you find within them are different. You can play a minor and it's very somber, it's very sad. And then when you go over to Dorian, you still get the sadness, but because you have that major 6th interval, it kind of brightens it up, makes it a little melancholy, not really, it's not heartbroken sad, for example. So that's when you're learning your modes, that's the key thing to do, to go through them. Find out the root chord of that mode, the root quality, and then how the distinctive color notes enhance it. Next question. Can you explain the Neapolitan chord and its role in a progression? Subdominant, dominant, tonic, etc. So for those of you who don't know, those words, subdominant, dominant, they come from the classical music theory, right? And subdominant would be your 4 chord and dominant would be your 5 chord. We know dominant because we still use that one in jazz and pop music and everyday music. So it's much more common than, say, subdominant or median or submedian, all that kind of, those type of terms, unless you're in that genre. But I digress. So the Neapolitan chord, again, it comes from the classical era. And what it is you take the 2nd chord of the key, for example, C major, the 2nd chord would be D minor. You lower it by a half step and you make it major. So you get a D flat major chord. And it's usually found in first inversion. And they do this for a reason, because it sets up your dominant chord or acts as your subdominant chord, right? So if I take a D flat major chord, D flat A, D flat F, A flat, and I put that in first inversion. So I'm going to take that D flat and I'm going to stick it up in an upper voice. That means F is in the bass. What is F in the key of C? It's our 4 chord. So if you're going to go 4, 5, 1, right, or F, G, C, now you can replace that 4 chord, that F chord, with this Neapolitan chord. And you get a slightly different altered tone or outside sound, however you want to think about it. You could also think about it, you're borrowing some of those notes from, say, C minor, a little bit, because you kind of get that F minor, the F, A flat thing going on. But your bass notes are still going 4, 5, 1, right? And that's how the Neapolitan chord is mostly used. There are other uses for it, but that's how it's found. And again, you find this a lot in the classical era music, but you'll see some Beatles songs that'll do it, or some Radiohead songs, even some modern pop songs, you'll find them hidden in there. Cool. So, as always, thank you for your amazing questions. If you have any theory questions that are bothering you, or any theory questions based on the videos that you see on this channel, please leave them down below in the comment section. Most likely somebody will reply to you, or I'll reply to you, or it'll get featured in one of these videos. So, as always, thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you next time.